biggest area is the lack of funds and capital allocation going on in the north. There's been huge efforts over the last years to improve that, and there's some Manchester-centric firms, VC firms, but I think that we're still well behind, the south, right? Unless you're going down to London, you're not raising venture capital. And if you do manage to raise venture capital or some form of capital as a startup tech business without going to London, you've committed quite a miracle, right? It's very difficult, but it is getting better. I think that the local government is doing some great things to support, but they can do so much more. I'm quite fortunate that I come from a legal background, and even with my legal background, I get confused still, right? I think that with our businesses, a lot of them are very data centric, processing huge, vast amounts of data. That's, individual data, consumer data, and it's the compliance around that, understanding the compliance. And it's not just UK, right? It's now we're not in the EU. What are the GDPR regulations around international data compared to UK customer data? How differently you must treat them? All that type of stuff. So I think that's the more advanced stuff that still I find a challenge. The challenges that I think startup businesses need help with is that I've seen so many capital allocators put quite onerous legal terms in front of startup businesses, tend to be fairly young, ladies or gentlemen that have not seen this stuff before, extremely confusing, and they may end up in a situation where it's come back and bit them in the ass because they didn't understand it well enough in the first place, be it preference stacks, liquidation preferences, consent items, warrants, all of this stuff, which before I started my journey in this crazy roller coaster of a world was fairly alien to me. And still now, I come across stuff and I'm like, what's that? Touch wood, we've had great legal representation that's always protected us. So we've ended up in some sticky scenarios where we might have had complicated or disruptive individuals, but we've been well protected through our legal documentation. And I always say that a good legal representative and a good accountant should save you more than they cost you. And obviously it comes back to, again, I keep harping on about local government, but it's their responsibility to shine the light on the successes and create more support for the businesses here to start, which then drives opportunity for people to come here. Certainly could be stuff around visas and supporting visas. We employ a lot of people from overseas, particularly in engineering and development, and we've had to sponsor their visas and things like that. So yes, support around visas and attracting international talent could be great. But also we want to support the Manchester as local talent as well. So yeah, just shining light on the successes, because there's been plenty of them, and there's continuing to be more of them, and making it easier to, for people to come and get jobs here, both internationally and from the rest of the country, because there is this huge ignorance. Down south, if you talk to engineers in London and say, hey, there's a job in Manchester, like, I've never been up there, that's a bit too far, and there is that kind of ignorance. So I think putting a bit more of a spotlight on it and showcasing the successes is certainly going to help.